Welcome to the Ascension Stargate podcast series, where we discuss the aspects of human consciousness, spirituality, metaphysics and philosophy, energy, extraterrestrial life, science, biology, and the alchemy of higher states of beingness, all from a heart-centered perspective. I am your host and guide, Glenn Mate, and let's begin our journey. Hi, everybody. I'm Glenn Mate from the Ascension Stargate podcast series, and I'm here today with such an amazing guest. This person has brought some new life into some material that was kind of lost and not necessarily known to many people. We're talking about Edgar Cayce, but more importantly, we're talking about Corina Angela Winn and this amazing book that she has written, that she has gained information from Edgar Cayce and Edgar's assistant, Gladys Turner. So there's a wealth of knowledge. Corina is just an amazing person. If you just look at her right now, she's just full of this amazing energy, such a bright smile, such a bright, lively energy. Corina, welcome to our show today, and thank you for choosing to be with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, I kind of want to jump right into your book because there's just so much information. Now,
Yeah.
Corina has 44 entries that are individual experiences, correct? That you've had
hmm
in your experiences with Edgar Cayce coming into your own presence, your knowledge base, and many of us call that channeling. Can you just explain a little bit about how Edgar came to you and how that all kind of unfolded?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Let's see. So in 2019, I was in a very deep meditation. I've been meditating since I was 14. So I've been on this path for a very long time, just enjoying the process, and I'm still in the process. But in 2019, I was in this deep meditation. And he popped up. I'm very clairvoyant, so I saw this younger gentleman in front of me. He just said, "Hi, I'm Edgar." I'm like, "Okay." So I've had many people just kind of pop in and be like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Okay, yes." And he goes, "Well, I'm Edgar Cayce." And I didn't have a form or a reference, or I didn't have a filter of who this person was. So I didn't have a preconceived notion of, oh yeah, this person is this. And so I just kind of looked at him like a deer in a headlight. And I'm just like, the only thing that I could think of was he was a psychic or something.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because, as we're telepathically connected, I can see myself, my reaction, and also he's viewing me, what my reaction is. So immediately we just began this dialogue because he was pleased that I didn't have any preconceived notions or filters or ego or any of those things, going to uh, infiltrate, and perhaps fuzzy the experience. So we just engaged in this dialogue, and I just found it really fascinating. And I was just writing. So when I'm up and out, so I'm an automatic writer. So when I'm connected, I'm still connected to when the energy is just solely connected, soul to soul, soul consciousness, I guess you could say. I'm able to open up my eyes or close my eyes and write. So as writing, as we were having this dialogue, and that's how it began. And it developed from there, day in and day out. He would come back, and then he asked me to write these books, and I it was like, what? And there was a lot of my own process that's in the book
Mhm.
that, I was like kind of kicking along the way, going, what is this? And questioning it, because I'm very right and left brain. I don't take things out of the air like, oh yeah, okay, it's 100% truth. I'm like, no, I need facts. I need proof and all that. So he certainly gave me the proof. So that's how it began. So
Yes, from reading that, I can tell that, this is such a process-oriented experience
yeah,
for you
it is.
where
Yeah. Yeah.
it it feels like he gave you these seeds of information, right?
Yeah, he
And
did.
then you needed to go back to make sure, okay, so what does this mean? And can I
Hmm.
get a deeper understanding of the body of what he's talking about?
Correct. Yeah.
And then to further it and to put it into different exercises of
Yeah.
self-help. So, it seemed like he gave you the blueprint for this opportunity to learn even more about yourself and then
Yeah.
create these wonderful experiences.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
In your interactions with Edgar and Gladys, how would
Mhm.
they initially kind of say, "Hey, I'm here now"? How does that transition of information take place?
Yeah. So when it began, the first day when he came in a physical form. So I could physically see him. And he came in as, a younger version in his 30s. Okay. So it was my association with that energy, but also the physical piece of it, because later on he just turned into energy. So it was almost like an introduction of like, this is who I am, this is my energy. I can see him. I can feel his energy. That is Edgar, right? So then when Gladys came in, Gladys came in as energy. So I was a little baffled. I've seen energy all my life, but this was very different. And so I asked Edgar, who is this? What is this? What? And he goes, "Oh, that's Gladys. Say hello." And I'm like, okay. But it was beautiful because it was like a yin and yang. It was
Mm,
that balance of the feminine and the masculine coming in
right.
for me to visually see Edgar, and then me to feel and see the energy of Gladys. So that's how they presented themselves to me, so I could integrate it and acclimate to it. So the next days that followed, that's how they would come in. They later on in the book, I described that they changed their appearance because I already was connected. So it didn't matter if they came in purple. I'd be like, "Yep, that's." So it was done. It's so interesting because I had never experienced this before in this explicit detail. It was such precision and such just so detailed that I mean, when you're open like that, it's like, whoa, I got it. Get okay, that's it. So anytime he comes in, I'm like, oh, they're here. It's just like, and they're merged with me now, so I can just feel their energy with me. So yeah, it's very interesting. Hope that
Right.
answers your questions.
Yes, you did, and for people that may not understand channeling, when we come in, we can recognize a certain energy. So we're
Yeah,
recognizing the
sure.
frequency of a vibration, and it's like a door knock, so to speak, to say
Yeah,
that, okay, pay attention,
yeah,
and you can tune into that, right? And,
sure.
and at least that's
Yeah,
how it works for
yeah.
me and for some of the other channelers that I
Right.
know.
Yeah. And everybody's process is different. You could hear a
Right.
sound and be like, oh, they're here, or you could see a sign or a symbol or a circle and be like, oh, okay, they're here. So everybody is so different. And it's fascinating. Everybody's process is the way they are interpreting what they are experiencing. So I think it's beautiful. I think yeah, it's really exciting.
So when Edgar and Gladys would come in, would they come in to your awareness with a certain energy? And what might that be? Or was that a certain color vibration that you resonated with that you like, oh, they're here this morning?
Hmm. So in the beginning, when they first came in, or throughout, so it changed over time. So
Mhm.
it's been several years now. So their frequency it's almost like rippling out. But I just know. I guess it's a knowing now. It's like, oh yeah, they're here. I don't have to do a process or meditate anymore. Any of those things. It's just they're here. In the beginning, like I said, when Gladys came in, she came in as this beautiful energy. It was like, hey, how do I describe it? I describe it in the book. It's like angelic. It was just like free flowing and beautiful and fragrant. I could, smell pink roses. I mean, it was just this. Oh, I mean, it was just like, whoa, what is that? And then when she presented herself in the physical form, she came in as her younger version of herself. So I saw her as this just flawless skin and tall and she just had this like, twinkle in her eye and she would just come in and then we started forming a relationship, day in and day out. And the minute she would arrive, I'd be like, Gladys is here. But it's interesting because when Edgar is here, Gladys is always here. So it's almost they've merged and they're one now. So it's really so when I speak of Edgar, I'm always speaking of Gladys, if that makes sense. So
Oh, that makes absolute
yeah.
sense. You know,
So
we
instead of saying, oh, the collective of eight, it's like, oh, Edgar's here. Of course Gladys is here,
right.
So
They're together.
it's
They're always together. So that
yes, yes,
is
yeah.
merged.
So
And that's such a wonderful thing to share,
yeah,
with our viewers because,
yeah.
as we, as channels, as intuitives, as we continue to ascend in our own person and our own consciousness,
Hmm.
that we're starting to equate to all of these higher energies at the same time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
our
And it's
perception
just
continues to evolve as well.
yes, 100%. And it is through the process that we are evolving and we're merging in because they're all aspects of ourselves. And that's the beauty of it. They aren't outside of us. They are in. They're in us. They're with us. I mean, Edgar would take me back into these past life regressions on a personal note, and I would, learn as I go. And I'm like, oh, this is a past life regression. You're taking me. He would show me when I was 5 years old. He goes, I've been with you since you were five. I'm like, wow. So our guides in general, who we're channeling or writing about or with us, they're with us for a very long time. And it's not that they choose us. We've already chosen first. So we have chosen this path first. Then we get to explore it and expand it and connect in with it. But we're not connecting in with it out there. We're connecting in with it here. And that's, I think, where the shift is starting to begin because it's not outside of us. We are a part of everything. So I think that's where we're really uh, transcending into. And I think that's exciting. It's really, really exciting because because then the next stage is, we're all connected. We are everything. We are, everything in the nothingness in the everything. So that's where we're evolving to. And I just think everybody's process is so unique to them. And so, um, exciting and to explore it more and more and keep doing what you're doing and keep expanding and exploring because it's such a beautiful process. So,
It is such a beautiful process. And, you know, as I read your book, that ideology of that,
mm,
how we're all connected
hmm,
is spilled all over these entries in different
yeah,
little parts and parcels and ways. But he
hmm,
explains that over and over through you,
hmm,
of course,
hmm,
that, the interconnectedness is not
yeah,
something that is outside of us. The
yes,
interconnectedness to everybody is within us. And
yes,
how amazing it is when we start to connect with the person to know thyself
hmm,
is to then to understand how connected we actually are to
hmm,
so many things, to so many other levels of consciousness, to other people, past, present, and future.
hmm,
Just
and here
amazing.
and now. Yep. Bring it all in right here, right now.
I love it.
Right. Yeah.
So, the book Transference, is almost like a roadmap or a way to
Mhm,
better know thyself. And all
mhm,
of your so carefully articulated exercises to go through to learn how to become connected through so many different ways that are connected to so many topics, and to understand also the actual definitions of some of these words, because sometimes
yeah.
we throw words around and
Hmm.
maybe we're loosely using the context of what the word actually means.
Or we're taking somebody else's meaning and not being true to ourselves of what that
Right.
truly means. Yeah, absolutely. And it's deep diving into that. What does know thyself mean to you? What does that mean? What does truth mean to you? You know, what does codependency and
Right.
all of those things? Really take a deep dive into yourself, what that means for you. So yeah, I think this book is, like you said, it's in these sections of 44, a variety of different entries. And it's very interesting because Edgar would come in and be like, okay, this is the topic. This is the top, like this is the name, put a start time, put an end time. I mean, the whole format is, I've never created a format like this before. So he was almost like dictating, like, this is exactly how he wanted this book to be created. So I was in the note taker and receiver, it was just fascinating to me because I was like, oh, this is fun. So I was just like a kid in a candy store and open and available and just being the neutral observer. But I didn't know how it would turn out. Like I had no idea. I was just listening and receiving and I never quite, that's the thing. I wouldn't question it. Like when I came back, sometimes, some days I'd be like, what the heck was that?
Mm.
But the majority of days that I was receiving and writing, it was just such in this beautiful flow. It was just this gorgeous flow of information that was coming in and being transferred, transference, that flow of energy, that exchange. And then when the book was complete, I would look back and go, oh, that's why, so during I was so immersed in the process. So it is truly a step-by-step process of my own personal process, but it's helping so many people in the world go through their own process because everybody's process is different.
Mm.
We're not all, sectioned in a box, and stuck in a box. It's like, no, we all create and learn a different way, and we process information different ways. So yeah.
I
It's
found it
fascinating.
fascinating. And as I was reading these processes,
Hmm.
I'm like, wow, that's something that I learned to do, and that's something that I do. Or,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
very
yeah.
similar to the way that I do my
Yep.
own processes
Hmm.
and how
Yeah.
I integrate my own spirituality and energy work and
Yep.
how I center my consciousness. So,
Hmm.
I was fascinated by that.
Yeah.
And the parallel. I'm like,
Yeah.
I wonder if Edgar is somewhere in my realm of.
Oh,
Uh,
100%. See, that's the thing too. Yes. So
so
it's
the
it's
answer is, of course, yes.
yeah, no, I mean it's everything, everywhere, right? It's just that's what's fascinating. So the more and more, so even us talking about it, it's going to ripple out, and more people will be like, oh yeah, I remember when, and then they're reading my book, and they're like, oh, and so it's connecting the dots, right? As the ripple effect goes out further and further and further for conscious awareness to evolve from, right? So it's
Right.
like, oh, it's just fascinating. And it is parallel. A lot of people are like, yep. Oh, but then they go deeper into it because if you read the exercise or the entry several times, you can go deeper and deeper and deeper. Even all these exercises, there's 28 exercises, and some are very foundational level, and some are really escalated. And then it's like you can tweak them as you go. So the foundation, like, oh, I've done this for years. Ooh, when you read it again or out loud or connect with somebody else, and you're creating the transference of energy within the exercise with somebody else, it a huge door opens, another door, a different perception, a
Mm.
different energy exchange happens. So that's why I always reference this book as it's alive because there's so many different components to one exercise. And it's just fascinating because I received so many people just feedback, and then also people will take this book as even in deep in a study group and study it. I have this one person that is going through every detail of every entry and just notes, and then revisit it again, notes, more notes, oh, deeper, deeper, deeper. So it's again up to your own process of where do you want to take this? Where do you want to evolve to? And, when they say ascension, it's like ascension is here. Ascension is now. It's present. It's like, what do you want to do with it? It's like, ooh, it's just so exhilarating and exciting because you can take it in so many different directions, and it's your choice. That's the power that you have. It's like, ooh,
Right.
I'm going to take this on and I can go left, right, and center. What do you want to do with it? And that's the piece that I really got to know about myself within this whole process. It was very vulnerable for me to even put my personal process in the book every day, right? And that was something I needed to get over. And was that ego? Yeah, there was a little ego kind of hanging out going,
Mhm.
oh, you don't need to do it, and just like, bark, 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 And when I would go in, Edgar would be like, release it, release it. And it was so amazing when we would be deep in it, like in an exercise. The minute my ego or a doubt would come in, the energy would just shift. And then they would actually disappear, like in the beginning, like, nope, done. We're done. I'm like, wait a minute, where'd you guys go? You know? And then I'd have to center myself and go, what just transpired? And it is in the book. It's like, what just happened? And I had to take a deep dive into myself of like, oh, I was doubting the process. I was doubting myself. Right. So
Right.
it's like catching those clicks, those blips of time of like, ooh, I just did that. Okay. So you are through this whole process becoming more and more aware of yourself, of how you think, how you feel. So it's very body sensorial, it's very mind, it's very heart, it's very body, and connecting to your soul on so many different levels. And again, you can take it as deep or as, foundational as you want it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Or you could even combine
Mhm.
some of these exercises together to
Oh, yeah.
build a
Hmm.
whole new thing.
Yes.
I'd like to look at it as, you've given us 28 jewels that are all faceted and shiny, and we pull
Mhm.
them out from the drawer. But when we take the light and we look at one and then put the other one in front of it, we get
Yeah.
something completely different.
Yep. Hmm.
So it gives us the opportunity and the ability to work with many different tools.
Hmm.
You can pull one out, pull out many, and then
Yep.
put them together and see how they all work, because you'll learn something new every time.
Hmm. Yep.
And I want to dive into one of the entries. So,
Hmm.
entry 42 was movement. And
Yeah.
one of the things that Edgar said was about longitude and latitude and congruent with the energy field.
Hmm.
And I really resonated with that because when we apply sacred geometry to ourselves, to our own humanness, our own human body,
Hmm.
we can go to something called the Kabbalah, or the Tree of Life.
Sure.
And we know that if we place the Kabbalah upon us and use these energy points, we're working with longitude and latitude because there's intersecting points.
Hmm.
And this is all points of energy or ancillary chakra points that we can activate
Hmm.
when we start to focus on some of these points in our physical body.
Hmm.
Yet we're also stimulating the spiritual body and the etheric body of us to grow and expand. So, do you have any other maybe insights or tidbits that you could offer on that?
Meaning how to connect deeper with what you just said and what is in 42, entry number 42.
Mhm.
So heart. So when we're talking longitude and latitude, it's giving a foundation of where we are and where we can go.
Mm.
So it's choosing a point of, the least resistance, or if you're resistant, go deeper into it. If you're, let's say, you wanting to astral travel, let's say, or biolocate, or you have a very clear intention of where you want to go and what you want to discover, right? So that's what the whole entry is about. So you can take it to a point where you are now, right? These entries and exercises meet you where you're at, right? So figuring out where you're at, where do you want to go? So those are the questions to ask yourself of where do I want to go? What do I want to explore? How much further would I like to go? And am I ready? We're always ready, right? So it's the willingness, right? Because we're always ready, always. So it's a matter of, can I commit? But it's not committing to something out here, right? It's committing to yourself, right? It's that honoring yourself that much to commit on such a deep level that you're devoted. You're devoted to yourself. Why? For the exploration of your soul self, right? To connect with that deep, that depth, that depth that we all have. And I think that's where the insatiable curiosity comes in. So again, it's meeting you where you're at, and what is your intention? So these are the questions. So even like right now we're doing an exercise, like they're here, okay, we're going in. It's what do we want to explore? It's not just reading, an entry or reading a book that somebody told you to read. It's where are you at? And you're asking these questions for yourself. And I think that's a really beautiful piece to go in deeper. And then creating the intention for yourself, nobody else. So it really is a deep dive into your own process and where do you want to go?
Yeah, absolutely. And, when we make the commitment,
Hmm.
that's when we start to really invest in ourselves. And
Hmm.
we need to
Yeah.
continually honor that.
Hmm.
And that's part of to know thyself is
Yeah.
honoring the commitment to
Hmm.
know the parts of you that aren't necessarily right out in the open,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And that leads us to entry 26, which was fortitude and stamina, which I also loved,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
That's a
was a
good one.
little bit longer
Yeah.
of a transmission, and there was more information there.
Hmm.
But one of the things that Edgar Casey spoke about was the balancing of the human brain and the cerebral cortex.
Hmm.
And then he goes a little bit deeper from that into the energy of the heart, which
Hmm.
that is near and dear to me. I am all about heart energy
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
always love to learn more information about the heart.
Hmm.
Would you be able to explain a little bit about what Edgar Casey was talking about
Hmm.
when he was speaking about the vortex of the heart?
Yeah. So he was talking about when you go into your brain, let's say, hanging out in your brain, right? What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? What's your thought process? And the merging of the left and right brain. So it's really merging the left and right brain and getting to a place of that stillness, right? So you can approach that and create that in meditation where you're going deeply, deep, deep, deep into meditation. You get to that stillness, that quiet, and you're just not, there's no thoughts, right? So it's he was taking us through a process of clearing the mind, clearing the monkey chatter to connect deeper with your heart. So it's always starting in the mind so you can balance it, get clear, and then go down into your heart and start exploring from that energy. So it's all about energy that you're creating. And when you come to that stillness and there are no thoughts. So I went through this whole process of, you know, I went, here's a planet, here's a planet. And then I would see myself here on this planet and go all the way over here, right? And all between this time, there's no thoughts. And every time you had a thought, you go back to the beginning, right? So practicing even that, I mean, can strengthen your muscle. It's like a muscle, this whole process, all these processes are a muscle that you visit every day, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And so pretty soon you can, have this planet go all the way down, a football field, and you can watch yourself with no thoughts, right? So when you achieve that, it's like, oh, okay, now heart. So then it's like that's mind heart coherence.
Mm.
So there are no thoughts here. And then you're really truly coming from your heart. You can, and then so then you're taking a deep dive into your heart. What's that all about? It's just not your physical body, of course, but your heart energy of it's energy, everything, right? It's all energy. It's permeating around you. It's like a vortex, and it's propelling you forward, right? You're the breath of life, you're breathing, you're alive. Your heart is keeping you alive. Without your heart, we wouldn't be here. So it's that, but then aside of that physical piece, your heart is a portal. I mean, it's like, woof, go, and then so then you can travel through your heart because there's no thoughts. So, I mean, we can go deep down there, but
Right.
that's initially what that entry is about, is really clearing the mind of those thoughts. And it's a process. It's not going to happen in a day. Maybe for some, yes, but I mean, I've spent years on this, really clearing the monkey chatter, and it's practice. It's a practice. But again, it's you can take it much, much deeper. So
Absolutely. And, it's part of our evolutionary process in this
mhm.
incarnation of our lifetime.
Yeah.
And when we start to become more adept at that process of clearing our thoughts and entering
Hmm.
our heart, that
Hmm.
allows us to springboard into the bilocation, into the remote viewing, into the astral travel.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, the heart is a portal.
Hmm.
And when we learn to access that, we have all of these other gifts that are available to us.
Yeah. 100%.
And unfortunately, in today's day and age, everything's about gaining your attention. Your attention. That is the value. It's information. I'm going to feed you information and I want your attention.
But that's the thing. It's like information, information, information. It's like, you have to interpret it, you have to translate it, you have to process it, you have to integrate it. It's just like, and then you be it. So that I think those pieces are a lot of us are missing. It's like, those are the missing gems, and a lot of those are the missing gems. So those are the steps to get from here information to here and then go. So I think it's, yeah, reverse engineering.
Very, very much so.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings us to entry number 39, which talks about time, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to explain a little bit about that, that what Edgar was saying in 39 about how time works and how we experience that.
I need a little more information because I could go in like, 10 different areas. So let's hone it on down. So yeah, a little more specific.
All right. So
Sorry.
I'll go back to my highlighted notes.
Please do. I love that. This is great. This is fun.
And I've dog-eared or got my sticky notes in all of
I
these.
love it. No, it's fantastic.
Um, One of the things that Edgar goes in is about molecular structure in how it advances in time and space, and to listening to problems in detail and then looking for the information and how that comes out.
Mhm.
Um,
So, mhm.
so
So,
please.
so he's talking about streamlining information, and how we can become so uh, precise, right? So when we're hearing something again, it's the process of being mindful and with our clear intentions of what we want to discover and why we're there, right? So it's a matter of, so when he showed, so in that entry specifically, he was showing me very specific things, and I was like, oh wow, So as I'm observing, many of these things I've never seen before, so I'm like, whoa. So it's even going in with new eyes to see, right? So if we're working on a project, let's say, and we're seeing it day in and day out, and and all of a sudden we're getting frustrated, and the doubt comes in, and then other people's energy comes in, and pretty soon we're just like square one, right? So he's talking about time. Time is relevant, but irrelevant at the same time, right? So we're merging that with different eyes to see. So we're looking at a project, let's say, for the very first time every day. So we're bringing in that energy. So that's what he's talking about, bringing in new energy, bringing in new eyes, fresh eyes to see. And then asking ourselves those questions of, why am I working on this project? Why? What was my first, exhilarating
Mhm.
attention, why am I curious about that? Why am I here? What am I doing? All of those things. So it's going back to self again, of really asking yourself those questions, and relative to time or not, no time, it's just, where are you at in your life? So, yeah. Did
Absolutely.
that answer your question?
Yes,
Because I
it did.
so many.
It's always, I like to say it's like experiencing the day through the openness and curiosity of a child,
100%.
and
Yeah.
then using
Yep.
your intellectual wisdom
Yes.
to work with that as the day unfolds without
Right.
expectation.
Yes. Yep. I
Did I
love
get
how
that?
you just broke it on down. Yeah. No, it's perfect.
Kind of feel like Edgar
You're
and
good.
Gladys are kind of here with us now.
Yeah, yeah.
Very, very
So,
great.
but that's part of it. So also the exchange of information. So what we're doing now, we're transferring information, we're asking questions, we're having a dialogue, we're in flow. And what are we doing? We're taking perhaps a very big concept and we're bringing it down to a very construct way of understanding in a new way, a more simplistic way. And that's Edgar and Gladys would always have these huge concepts, these huge entries, and we would just dive in. But
Mhm.
again, we're doing it right here. It's like just bringing it in, and we're holding it there and going, let's explore now. So again, new eyes to see, when it's letting go and releasing all the things that are really not relevant.
Right.
So
Which brings us back to the title of the book, which is Transference. And how appropriate is that? Which also is one of the entries in the book.
mhm.
Can you explain what transference means through your eyes and also with the aid and interpretation of Edgar and Gladys?
hmm So transference, the energy of flow, of dialogue, of communication, of channeling, if you will, clear, streamlined consciousness. So it's so we're doing it right now. I'm transferring my energy to you. It's almost like the infinity symbol. That's what we're doing. That's what they would show me, of this beautiful flow of information, and that's how we're interpreting it, that's how we're consuming it, that's how we're acclimating to it. It's this beautiful flow of information. So transference is a flow of information. It's not, I'm going to transfer my thoughts on you, and then you're all, it's not like that. It's just this beautiful open dialogue of interpretation, but like, we're processing so much stuff right now. Like, I'm sure
Right.
you feel it too. I mean, we're processing a lot of information right now, it's in this very beautiful flow of streamlined consciousness. So,
I
if that
love
makes
that. And
sense.
that's just like the acceptance in
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
communicative
Mm-hmm.
community of
Mm-hmm.
information where we're both investing our energies to
Mm-hmm.
better understand the concept of an idea
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than the paradoxal of the projection where I'm giving to you
Yes.
this. I'm the sage.
Yes.
You're
Here, read this. This is it. What is it? You know? It's because everybody else has their own perception, and when two or more are gathered, I mean, brilliance just comes out of it. The miracles, we are miracles. I mean, there's just so much beauty in that. And I think if we do more and more of that, it's just this beautiful flow that just ripples out, and more people will be touched by it and understand it and want to process it and be curious about it. Like,
Mhm.
ooh, how does that work? Yeah.
And hopefully, in the very near future, education will become transference.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the best way of learning
Yeah.
because it's the shared
Mm-hmm.
symbiotic relationship of information instead of
Mm-hmm.
just receiving something what someone is telling you
Right.
and not giving you the fully opportunity to dispute, to digest, or ask questions to.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just accepting it is for what it is. We're
Mm-hmm.
now seeing how does it fit into the person who I am and the reality that I'm living in,
Mm-hmm.
and how does it work in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
thank you for all of that.
You're welcome.
We're coming to our close, and I don't want to give away all of the secrets of the book because there's just so much good information in there. And I'm so grateful that you took the ownership of, getting into Edgar and Gladys and writing this and trusting yourself to write all of this beautiful information because
Mm-hmm.
there's just so much we can learn from. And it's not a one and done book. It's, okay, I want to bring this along on my ascension journey and continually to use it back and forth. And just as you said, that every time we read it, we're going into a deeper level and we're understanding it from another perspective. And as we continue to put these processes together and use them in different ways and in different sequences, it just lends to such a beautiful book for anybody's ascension. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you, thank you, thank you for taking the time and effort. And this isn't a 10-minute I wrote this book. This
Yeah.
is such a life experience and it continues. I'm excited to hear about the next evolutions of all of this work that you're doing with Edgar and Gladys. And there's also more people, right? So there's more to come.
Mm-hmm.
Corina, is there anything that you'd like to leave us with? Do you have some words of wisdom or something you'd like to say with us, or something that Edgar might want to transfer to us today?
Yeah, it's when I said yes to this work back in 2019, I didn't know what I was saying yes to, and it's continuing their legacy because they did such incredible work and helped thousands of people all over the world, and to continue that and to create it in a way that is in our modern time for people to experience it in a new way, different way, but still it's continuing their legacy. So I think when I said yes, I had no idea what I was saying yes to. And I'm just so incredibly grateful. And I'm incredibly grateful that I said yes.
And I'm
Yeah.
incredibly grateful that you said yes too. So thank you for sharing your gifts with the world to help everybody ascend in another way that they may resonate with.
Yep.
Such a
Thank you.
beautiful gift. Karina, where can people go to find you and to find this great book that you've got?
Yeah. It's on Amazon, so you can go to Amazon, or my website is trinehealing.com. So yeah.
Awesome. And can we
hmm
find you on social media?
Yeah, so Facebook, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, YouTube, Threads, yeah. All the above.
Awesome. Karina, I am so grateful to have this opportunity with you today and to share your great gifts with the world. So, thank you for saying yes to the Ascension Stargate podcast series. I'm so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you, and I can't wait to have another conversation with you to see what you're working on and what's come up and all of the new exciting things in the very near future. So thank you again for being our guest today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, we'll see you soon on the next Ascension Stargate podcast series. Thank you.